Welcome to today's panel, Selling Your Work Tips and Advice. I'm Robin Schwartz. I'm the Community Arts Partnership Program and Grant Director. And I'm going to take a couple of minutes to tell you about a couple of upcoming CAP programs, and then a bit about myself, and then Christi Sobel and Carpenter will introduce themselves. But I'm going to start off tonight by talking about one-on-one interactions with people that can help result in sales. Christi will talk about visual merchandising, and then Via will talk about online selling and related subjects. I will facilitate. So most of the folks who signed up tonight are visual artists. There were a couple of writers and musicians. One writer. Who is a musician? Anyone? A musician, writers, a couple of writers. Any other filmmakers or dancers? Mostly visual artists though, right? We're recording this, and I will post the link to the recording on our website workshop page next week. I'll email everyone who registered when it's available. And by the way, there are 2 recordings there from last year, one on marketing, one on fundraising. They were really great workshops. And we have more workshops coming up, and we'll record all of them. I think it's still more fun to come to the workshop because we have fig news. So let's start this workshop. I'm going to first introduce myself. I've been organizing CAPS programs and grants for 32 years, but for a couple decades I also worked retail. I've learned a lot during all those years. I mean, not only from the retail, but by observing artists that are in our market and art trail and watching what works and what doesn't work. And at our annual Capapalooza art sale, we collect over 700 pieces of art, and I managed to sell 650 of them in 9 days. Now, granted, a lot of them are like, a lot of the stuff we've collected, the prices are rock bottom, but not all of it. And I think it's because I have like a really good time and I make it sort of a fun experience. So let's have Via introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Via Carpenter. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Community Arts Partnership. It's a very new role. I just started in May. So we're kind of creating it as we go, and it's really fun, and it's really awesome. I helped put up this show. I'm also an artist. One of these pieces on the wall is mine. It's that one, next to Margalo Gua, the statuesque guy holding the pot. That is my art. I am also a business owner, so I own Via's Cookies. We sell cookies. They're very good. I've been doing that for around 5 years, and I've gotten pretty good at marketing. A lot of people in the community know about me. My cookies are in stores all over Ithaca and some stores outside of it. And I am also a muralist, so I do many things.
All right, now you can hear me. All right, I'm Christi Sobel, and I've been an artist here in Ithaca for the last 26 years, actually. During that time, I've been at the farmers market. Y'all may have seen me there. And I'm a painter and a scientific illustrator and a graphic designer, a little bit of everything. The old biological principle of diversify or die. That's what I do. And I'm also the organizer of the Little Red Wagon Artisan Market. That has grown, and now I actually am running a shop up at the Triphammer Marketplace called Star Tree Studio. So I am an artist, but I am also in retail, and Robin thinks I'm an expert in visual merchandising, so here I am.
Her store is beautiful. You should definitely go up there.
It is really pretty.
So I'm going to start by talking about selling your work one-on-one. Your work may occasionally sell itself, but you'll sell way more by being part of the process. I think there's a good way to engage with your visitors or the public, and a pushy way that will have the opposite effect. And what I find is that many artists are afraid of the latter, so they don't engage with their customers at all. So a lot of artists, I notice, don't engage with their customers at all because they don't want to be that person. You've all gone into stores and had bad experiences with people following you around. But I think that some of your visitors, not all of them, but some of them, they really are craving that engagement. And then you can have some fun helping people figure out what they want to buy. And it's important to get the difference between people who don't want to talk, people who just want to chat and then have no intention of buying anything, and then the people that really want to talk about buying something. But before I get into that, I want to say something about confidence. People are elevated, I think, when they see something they love and they have the means to purchase it. I think the act of purchasing is a real high for the customer. And I want everyone to remember that and think about that and make that experience a good one. I find a lot of artists are quite shy. And there are times when, for example, on the Greater Ithaca Art Trail, the shy artist will have a friend there, and the friend is the one who's selling the art. And the friend has a much easier time saying, oh my God, you should look at that, isn't this amazing? Because it's weird when you go, oh my God, look at my work, isn't it amazing? So it's, if you're not good at this, it might be good to bring someone with you when you're at a venue or in your studio who can be the fun selling person. So there was one of the stores I worked at, I was talking about confidence and specialness. One of the stores that I worked at, whenever they handed something to someone that they had purchased, they would hand it to them with two hands. And it was just like one of those little things they did to help communicate that this was an amazing experience, that you bought something lovely. So confidence, and remember that the act of purchasing is a high for the customer. I'm going to get very specific, but I want to talk about the story behind your work. I believe that people want connection with you and your work. Comfort is found in that connection. And marketing is really as much about you as it is about the work itself. Your story, or the story about why you created your art, brings the viewer in, and I think promotes sales. I personally think that people buy art when they're having fun, and I think that's what happens at Capapalooza. And while we're talking about the story, I just want to briefly say that I don't like academic style artist statements. People say that their work is accessible, and then they use very vague and complicated and convoluted language to describe it. You know what I'm talking about? That is not accessible at all. It's kind of the opposite of accessible. It makes people feel like they can't be part of it, or they don't understand it, or art isn't for them, and that's really sad. And the truth is, I think art is very guttural for people. And having said that, an artist statement with big words may be appropriate for some instances, like if you're applying to a sculpture residency and you're a sculptor, you might use different language than you would at an artist market. So I think you have to know your audience. You don't use that same language for people coming to the market. In summary, knowing something about you, knowing why you created the piece is part of the buying experience. And it's a story that maybe they'll remember and tell people who see the work after they bought it. So here are my suggestions for specifics. You don't have to agree with everything I say, but I'm just throwing it out there. Number one, always greet people. Just say hi. Say hi and your name, and maybe something neutral like, have fun looking around. The idea is that you just want to establish yourself as friendly and approachable. At this point, you're not saying to people, are you interested in buying anything? Can I help you with anything? Just basically you're communicating, I'm really friendly. Then leave them alone for a bit. Don't stare at them. It's hard for people to look at stuff and talk at the same time. So give them time to look at your work. Obviously, if they are talking to you or asking questions, of course engage. But if they're just generally chatting, or it's a friend of yours that came by and just wants to update you on their life, I kind of think it's good to say, let me just give you some time to look at my work quietly. And I think that's kind of genius, because you're communicating, I want you to look at my work. So you just have to play it by ear, and some people just want to talk. Like Christi, when she's alone in her store, she's just kind of a sitting duck. And I came in and talked to you for like an hour and didn't buy anything.
It was about being on this panel, but,
Right.
you know.
Oh, yeah. I bought a chocolate bar.
You did.
Just chocolate. So you've said hello. They are looking around. So step 2. If the visitor is looking at something thoughtfully, make one short comment. But don't approach them, don't crowd them. Like, oh my God, isn't that cool? That piece was inspired by a visit I made to Maine. Or, oh yeah, that frame I got was from Mimi's attic. Or, Karen, those materials are recycled plastic bags. You know, just something interesting about that. Just throw out one comment, not a long story. If the person then ignores you, oh well, they don't want to talk. You know, you tried. Or they might then engage with you. If they're still looking at your work and you've established that connection, I think now it's okay to say, are you looking to buy something? Can I help with that? That's a very direct question. And I don't recommend starting off with that. And maybe they are just looking. Maybe they'll say, no, I'm just looking. I didn't bring my checkbook. But maybe they need help. They might say, yeah, I'm looking for a present for my niece. Or, yeah, I love your stuff. I'm not sure what to get. And if the answer is some version is yes, then now help them. And it's at this point that many artists say, okay, let me know if you have any questions. I'm saying dive in now, engage. They want to buy something. Ask them what they're drawn to. Ask them how much money they want to spend. If they love something and can't afford it, do you have less expensive options? And you may not, and that's okay. Make suggestions. Often people who love your work are kind of overwhelmed at making a choice. You know, like when people come into your store, there's so much to look at that they may just like wander around in circles and leave, you know? So make suggestions, keep it fun. I personally think that I've always been good at selling because I am having a blast helping people find things that they love. I also find that a great conversation starter, especially if there are children there, is what's your favorite piece? I think that's kind of brilliant, you know, because it immediately has people talking to you about what their favorite thing is at your booth. Keep conversations positive. So the good news for all the people in the artist market is I don't think people are going to be complaining about parking this year, because the new parking lot is 3 times as big and amazing. But in all other years, people got real grumpy by the time they walked into the artist market and immediately started complaining. My advice was change the subject, because I don't think when people are cranky that it's going to end up with a sale. And people will come and start talking to you about politics or something sad that's happened to them. If you're okay with that, fine. But I don't think it'll result in a sale. And I'm very direct. I personally burn out pretty quickly at events. And so I will say to people, I just want to have positive conversations today. Or what we said in the 60s, like, don't harsh my vibe. Mental attitude is crucial. I can always tell who is selling and who is not selling by the artist's body language. The ones who sell are happy and glowing, and that attracts more viewers and they make more sales. And the ones who aren't selling, they you can tell they're upset. And people can feel it, and they won't approach your booth. It's really interesting. If you're in conversation with a potential customer, be sure to say hello to others who approach the booth. If someone is just bending your ear and you're not enjoying it, which is going to happen, or they're telling you about how their 4th grade teacher didn't support their artistry, something. You can tell them, you know, it's been really nice. You have to have this skill. It's so nice talking to you, but I have to make a phone call, do something. That's fine. And I mean, there was one person who didn't do the art trail again because one person came and talked to them for like 3 hours. And they didn't have the skill to say, and they're like, I'm never doing this again. I'm like, I think you need to learn that skill. But you can always, like if you're in your studio and alone, just tell them you have to make some phone calls. Thank you for coming. Are you interested in buying anything? I used to, when we had an office in Center Ithaca, and I would drop hints, and then I would get like, you have to leave. And people wouldn't leave. I would walk them out. I'd go, come follow me, and I'd walk out of the building. And then I'd say, okay, bye. And then I'd walk back in. So that works. Last year, I mean, this is really important because last year we had a customer come to me at the artist market and tell me that they really wanted to talk to one of the artists there about a commission. But every time they went to that artist booth, the artist was having an intense conversation with somebody, and they were just standing around waiting, and the artist never acknowledged them, so they said no, and it could have been a possible $2,000 commission. So just keep aware of all the people that are around you. So that's my talk about one-on-one interactions. And Christi will talk about a little bit about engaging also. So I'm going to turn the little microphones over to Christi.
Yeah, I've been talked to in my booth for hours at a time. It's very hard. I need to learn those skills from you, Robin. When someone just parks their bike in there and talks at you. So I run a shop, which is a new thing, but I'm going to talk more from my experience of being a farmer's market artisan. I've been there since 2000. I really love watching people shop. It's very interesting. Yeah, so I'm very keen on having a beautiful and interesting display for my work, for other people's work in my shop. And creating a beautiful and welcoming space is very important to bring people in, because visual merchandising, you're supposed to bring your people in, you're supposed to keep them in and like engage them while they're there, and then have them come back to you in some way with something to take away, like a business card, a way to find you again. So one of the most important things is to have your space be very welcoming. Booth flow is important, how to catch customers' eyes and bring them in, to not have any barriers for them to come in. Like if there's a sharp edge pointing at you, people will like feel that. I have this famous story that Robin didn't want me to tell, but I'm gonna tell anyway. It does not mean that you need to go buy a rug. So my farmer's market booth has like counters in the front, and then a place where people can come in, and then I sit back here. So the farmer's market has a wooden floor, and then I had to transition to a gravel floor inside my booth. And for the first few weeks I had my booth like this. I watched people come like right up to the edge where the gravel was and like reach in and look at stuff and then like walk away. And I watched this happen over and over and over again. People like subconsciously would not step into the gravel. So I got a little rug that goes across there, it bridges the gap, and now people just flow right in. So having anything that's going to keep people from wanting to walk in and be in your space is important to sort of keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. When I set up a show tent, I often have a round table in the front, and that also, like, people just kind of flow around the edge of that. There's no like barrier for people to come in. And then you watch how people are engaging your work. What are they going to pick up? If there's like a front area and people can pick something up and look through it, there's more of a chance that they'll buy something if they've touched it. I'm finding that. And when you're setting up your booth, it's good to have like some big beautiful things in the back, or have your sign have something that people can see from far away that interests them, and then have the smaller things in the front, so when they come in they'll be like, ooh, I'm gonna pick that up. And also that gives you a variety of price points and sizes. If you have all really expensive stuff in your booth, yes, it would be great, maybe you'll sell them, but you're more likely to sell several little things than a large piece. If you only have large work, that's what you have. Just
make it beautiful, you know. And then like where to sit, like Robin was saying too, you don't want to intimidate the people coming in. That's another barrier. If people see you sitting like out in the front, then they feel like they have to engage you before they can go in, and then they might feel like they're committed to having to buy something. Sit back a little ways, say hello from a distance, let them sort of come to you, don't go after them. When you're setting up your booth display, have some different levels of things. I often use wooden crates. I pack all my stuff into them in the car, and then I can turn the crate on its side and then have multiple dimensions to put things. That's a good way to maximize your space. If you just have a table, make some shelves in the back, and then you have like multiple places that you can put more work. It's very important to price your work clearly so that people can see it. It's another barrier. If people have to ask you what the price of something is, they might get shy, they might not want to do that, they might feel like they're making a commitment, they might feel like there'll be that moment of like, oh, that's really expensive, you know. So if they can see the price, then they don't have to ask you, and then they know what they're getting into. People don't always read signs, but people don't actually usually read signs, but it's good to have pricing signs out. A little practical advice, if you do have things that people are going to pick up, put them in some packaging, like plastic packaging, because people will be eating and touching. So, and I have things that are like, I have note cards, I have calendars, I always have a sample one out, so all the dirty hands can be like on the sample piece, and then the ones that people will actually be buying will be clean and nice. Also, if you have small valuable things, jewelry, high-end little things, keep them where you can see them. Don't put those right out in the front. Most, like at the artist market, you're probably not gonna have people shoplift from you, but
There have been.
yeah. So if you have something valuable, keep it where you can see it. You don't have to like keep it under lock and key. Yeah, that's sad that's happened. It's happened at our shop a little bit, and it was very disappointing that people would steal from artists. I made a whole bunch of really obnoxious little signs about that.
What's more common is people accidentally spilling their coffee on your table.
Yeah.
That's more common.
Or putting their giant purse down on your
Right.
stuff all the time. And yeah, so you want people to be very interested in coming into your booth. Make it beautiful, no barriers. And then, you know, be friendly, as Robin was saying, when they come in. One kind of funny little thing I just thought about is art show clothes. So people do expect artists to look like artists, and it's nice to wear something nice when you're selling your work. Like, I don't know, you know, I'm wearing this tonight because I'm talking to you guys about art, so I'm going to wear a nice, pretty, arty shirt. Yeah, I know a lot of people who do shows who have kind of their art show wardrobe that they take to their shows. Yeah. Just something I've noticed from my shows. Actually, I'm curious, how many of you guys, so we had a few hands for the artist market on Friday, right? Hands again, just, okay, great. Are any of you like really old hands at selling your work? Have you been doing shows? Have you been doing open studios? No? Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
a long time ago.
Okay.
I just did a show at a winery, but I wouldn't say that I'm an old hand. I've done a couple shows at like Bumpkin Street Books and wineries and stuff,
Awesome.
but all of it has been not like a gallery or something.
Right, you put it up and then, yeah, this is more of a like engaging, right.
Yeah, and then like I get the money later, usually there's like an opening, but then I don't engage with the people that are in that business for like months, and then I go collect the money, so I don't
Yeah.
see a lot of the people, I don't even know who they are.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, selling one-on-one is a very different experience than that.
I've done enough of them to know that everyone's different.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So now that you have welcomed your people in, they've been interested, they've come in, they've stayed for a little while because there's interesting things to see and do, and you've been friendly. you do want to also keep them engaged when they leave. It's great to have business cards, it's good to have a QR code for your Instagram or your Etsy shop. If you sell online, let them know that, so people don't just walk away and then never be able to find you again, and then call up Robin and say, I wanna find that artist that paints elephants, you know. I know Via's gonna talk a little bit about QR codes and that kind of stuff, so, and also, something that I've come to do is to package people's purchases for them in a nice way. It can be very simple. Mine is just like, I have white envelopes that I, bought at Staples, and I have a little sticker that I put on them. So if people have chosen something in your booth with care, then you wanna package it with care, present it with 2 hands. And then I see my stickers walking around the market, and then so many people are like, oh, that's so nice, thank you. Or if I know someone's going to be giving this as a gift, I'm like, oh, I took the price off for you, you can gift it just like this. Always stick your business card in the package too, so that they have it later. Hopefully that will come back and help you out down the road. You can also have a clipboard out to gather emails. If you are interested in keeping an email list, that's always a good thing. And will you talk more about that too? Great. Yeah. So a question about what to bring. I'm gonna kind of lean into the artist market preparation a little bit, but this applies to any like show that you might do, or if you're setting up a booth somewhere. It's good to have a variety of price points. That's something I have done over the years. Yes, someone can buy a nice $500 painting, but they can also buy the card of the painting, which is something I always did for years, because I'm not rich. I mean, I'm an artist, right? So it's just great that you have options for people. So I have $4 cards, but I also have a $12 cheap print, which didn't cost me much to make. But when people say, oh, I love this, I'm gonna frame the card, I can be like, well, you can also get this on the acid-free paper that I have signed that doesn't have a barcode on it for a little bit more. And that gives people an option for have something beautiful in their house. I really believe in accessible art. I love it when I sell a big painting, but I also love selling just art into people's hands. My philosophy, not everyone's philosophy, but yeah, so I might make a painting, I may never sell the painting, but I will make more than that painting's value in the cards over the course of years. I also really enjoy doing that. I like coming up with new products. I like thinking about what people might like to purchase. It's fun to play with that for me. But your body of work, so even if you have a variety of things, you don't have to bring everything that you make. In fact, that makes for a cluttered presentation. Robin sent me a nice quote about, like, if you have a cohesive body of work, it looks professional. If you have a scattered one with too much variety, too many different things, like, it can look amateur, like you're experimenting with stuff still, and you're still like, you're a student, or you're trying, yeah, so like make your booth look cohesive. It's good to have a sign with your name on it, to have business cards, to have people remember your name. And you can make your booth look really good without having to spend a lot of money. Like, if you're just doing a show here and there, don't put a lot of money into infrastructure. Like, go look around your house, you could find a nice tablecloth that you can put down, and that elevates your booth a little bit. Maybe get a bouquet of flowers, maybe grab a potted plant from your house. Look around, like, if you can find some crates or interesting little shelves or something that can make an interesting display, but you don't have to go buy a whole bunch of stuff. I actually furnished my shop from reuse for not a whole lot of money. I just would go there every couple of days and like find some weird little shelves for $6 and paint them a different color, and then I had shelves. So yeah, just be creative with that, but don't don't spend a lot of money on infrastructure unless you're going to do this full time. And then get yourself some nice tables, get yourself some nice folding stuff that you can transport. Make sure that you are comfortable. Remember to bring a chair or a stool, something that's high enough that you can see over your booth, so that you're not sitting way back in the back and people can't see you, you can't see them. But, you know, especially if you're at the market for 7 hours, you're gonna wanna sit down. Yeah, and bring a water bottle, bring comfortable shoes, like bring some snacks, bring a fan, it could be hot. Yeah, those things. Don't forget your cash box, have your Square stuff ready to go, have your phone ready, like just make yourself a checklist. I have a checklist before every show that I do to make sure I have everything. And apparently it falls to me to talk about pricing. The age-old question. Don't undersell yourself. I know so many people, especially when they're starting out being an artist, they're like, well, I like painting and it didn't cost me that much to make this, and oh, I'm not very good at it anyway, and if I sell it cheap, maybe someone will buy it. But be confident in what you do. Like, you're making art, you're making something that somebody else can't make, and yeah, don't be shy about it. Like, be confident in what you do. Consider your time. I'm not gonna give you a formula for how to price anything. Look around and see what other people are doing. What is the market gonna bear? Consider how much time you spend in this. Is there an hourly wage you would like to be getting? What are your materials? I have heard something about like, take your materials and multiply that by 3 and then add your time. I have heard that formula. If you're doing reproductions, consider your printing, consider your packaging, like all that stuff does add up. You do wanna make a profit, you do wanna have a margin, and you're not just selling the product, you are selling your work. I recently heard a good line about, you know, people are like, how long did it take you to paint this? And the response could be like, oh, about 3 hours and 25 years.
Yes.
You know, like, you know, you are making something other people can't do. And also, you can't change your price upwards in negotiation. Like, you can price your things a little bit higher than you might wanna get, and that gives you the option to be like, all right, well, I have $550 on it, but $525 is okay. And you really wanted to get 500. But you can't have 500 on it and then say, oh, actually for you it's 525. Like, you know, you can't go back upwards. So price a little higher, and then if you want to have some flexibility with a customer who's very interested, then you can do that. But you might also get the full price, which would be always be awesome. And my last little thing is about sale bins. Like, maybe you have sale bins, bargain bins, you might have some stuff that has been hanging around that you kinda wanna move, or you have a big body of work. That's great. A place like the artist market is a good place to like have a bin of things like that. But also, if people see the word sale bin or bargain bin, they will go right there and maybe not look at the other stuff. And that's, if you wanna move that stuff out, then that might be great. But just be aware that that is a way people shop. And I think that's all I got. Was there anything that?
You mentioned, I hope that everybody has the ability to accept credit cards.
Oh, yeah.
Because people don't carry checkbooks anymore. There is an ATM at the artist market, for example, but by the time people wander away from your booth, they may never come back.
Yeah, I found, so at the shop, I take 95% of my sales are credit cards. At the farmer's market, probably about 85% of my sales are credit card.
What's the rest, cash or?
Cash.
Yeah.
2 checks a year, I mean, no
So,
checks.
and something she didn't mention is to come with change, in case people do have cash. But these days, I think you will lose sales if you can't accept credit cards.
And a little psychology thing about that too. So many people just automatically bring out a credit card, and if I take a $4 sale with a credit card, it actually costs me like 35 cents.
Yeah.
So I have a little sign that's, I will add a 25-cent charge for $10 or under, and so many people all of a sudden have a $10 bill in their wallet.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's interesting. So.
So before I go to the social media part, I wanted to talk about website, branding, social media. So I'm covering all the pieces of the sale essentially that are not in a market, not in a store, not in person. So one of the first things that you really want to take into account is branding. You want to have a cohesive brand. So for example, Julian Plum. When you go onto his Instagram, it's very clear. Oh, this is Julian Plum. It says right up here, Julian Plum. there he is. And then they say who they are and what they do. They also say who they're represented by. And then you can go down and you can see that their website is julianplum.com. So you don't want to have an Instagram name or a website name that has nothing to do with your brand. For example, if Julian Plum had their Instagram name like Kitty Cat 73, nobody would know that he's Julian Plum selling illustrations, kids lit illustrations. So basically you want to have the same name across all platforms. I will now give you a list of platforms that I highly suggest you check out. You want to do Instagram, Facebook. You definitely want a website. Like, absolutely, hands down, if you don't have social media, any of that, you always need a website. You can use TikTok. You can use Threads. Threads is a new one. It's not as important, I would say, but it is kind of an offshoot of Instagram, and people have been getting popular on there. You can use something like Substack. If you're a writer, Substack is a great place to put your writing, and you can also monetize your work through Substack. And then we also have, there's one other thing I was going to tell you. Let's see, Patreon. Patreon, Patreon. So Patreon is something that a lot of artists will use to continue to make money beyond what they're already selling. It's sort of a subscription website. That's also similar to Substack. That's a subscription website. Patreon is probably more visual. Substack is more writing, literature type stuff. So for the website specifically, when you create your website, you want it to look very cohesive. So let's go to Julian's website. Oh, the Wi-Fi here. Oh no.
Julian's in the artist market.
Julian is.
By the way, so is Christi actually.
Yeah.
By the way, when you get to the artist market, there will be guides printed on beautiful goldenrod paper at each booth, so you can see where everybody is.
All right. The Wi-Fi is very poor here.
It is.
If somebody wants to donate.
Everybody's right. Everyone go to their phone and look up julianplum.com.
Yeah, essentially Julian Plum's website, or I'll give you an example of what a good website could look like since we're probably not going to get it. You'll go on the website, it'll be very clear who it is. Oh, this is Julian Plum. Probably in the header of the website, it'll say Julian Plum. And then you'll have about. In the headline, you'll have an about page, you'll have a shop tab, and whatever else. Maybe you have a blog, or maybe you have a link directly to your Substack or your Patreon. And so on the front page, definitely have pictures of your artwork. Have a picture of you and your artwork. If you're going for a very stylistic thing, you can do it differently. You could have maybe you're on the page and it's a huge painting that's really drawing people in. They're like, oh my gosh, And so they immediately scroll down to see what else they can see. But people love to see you. They love to know who the artist is, unless that's your brand. Maybe your brand is that they never figure out who you actually are. If you're able to work your brand in a way where you can create some sort of very specific experience, people will be into it regardless of how you're putting it up. So you go onto the website, you see who it is, you see what it is. Obviously, it's kids' illustrations, it's super cute, it's Julian Plum, and then you immediately are able to click over to the shop tab where it says, I am an illustrator, I draw in books for you. You can contact me directly if you would like me to illustrate your book. You can also buy my pieces here. And I believe that Julian has a link to their Etsy. So you can sell things on Etsy as well. With Etsy, they probably have stickers. They have prints. They have all sorts of different methods that they're selling the same artwork. So let me see if I could just.
Shower curtains.
Yeah, if we're looking at Julian's artwork here, I imagine that this little fairy girl, she is probably available as a sticker, you know? So this is a sticker or even a keychain or something like that. You can see the artwork up here. There are prints.
That was at my shop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Poster. Yeah.
Wow.
Hey,
Yeah.
do you have business cards?
Not with me.
So you can take artwork, you could take whatever you're making, paintings, like Julian has a painting in here actually. Yes, this frog over here. That frog is probably available as a print to buy. I would also even say, oh my gosh, I love this frog so much. Maybe they have kind of a different version of the frog they've created and made into a sticker. And so those sorts of things, it's very easy to sell online. And I would say, yes, please sell them online if you're trying to really make money off of your artwork.
Yeah, try to just type in julianplum.com instead of clicking on it.
Okay.
Because I think it is working.
See, you can see in the tab, it literally says Julian Plum Children's Illustration. Like, you can't get any better than that. So when we go on there, it's, yeah, wow, I did good. It's almost exactly what I was saying.
Right, that's right.
Julian Plum,
Shop tab.
shop tab, Instagram, about, portfolio. This is good. You see the art. It's very clear what they do. They're clearly very good at what they do. Wow, she's amazing. Okay, wow. And then they have a monthly newsletter. So this can be, it looks like their newsletter is actually attached to Substack, which is something I mentioned earlier. So you want to definitely have a newsletter tied into your website, and it can lead to something like a Substack. It can be a different sort of app add-on. There's MailChimp. There are different platforms that you can use for newsletters. I think that Substack is a really good one because you can monetize it. So if I were to go to Julian, I don't know. I wonder if I can get to their Substack. If I were to go to Julian's Substack, I'd probably get there. I'd see all the different newsletters they'd uploaded, and then I would see if I could sign up for a different tier level to whatever that newsletter is. I'm sure they have some sort of content on there that is monetized. So, for example, he might have something that only people who pay $5 a month can read. And if you really like Julian Plum, you might pay $5 a month to read that cool little secret thing that he has up on his website or on his Substack. So let's go to the shop tab. And this takes you to Etsy. So we can look at his Etsy. Cool. Glow in the dark stickers, art prints, and even just the presentation of the artwork here is very nice. They clearly chose good lighting. You don't want to take photos of things where it's in a shadow, you can't tell what the color is. It's got a really distracting background. See, the background is blurred in this. Obviously, the sticker is the focus of the photo. Yeah. They've even got, they've got tape? Yeah, this is tape. So you can get really creative with the sort of things you're selling your artwork on. And people will buy it. Like, that tape is cute, you know? And it can go in little shops, things like that. So making your brand very cohesive, clear. I also think one of the strong points that Julian has is his art is very recognizable. So you're looking at the piece on the wall and then you look at this and you can tell, oh, that's Julian. You see Julian Plum at the artist market and you'll immediately, as you're walking by, you'll say, oh, that's Julian. And so when you're making all of your stuff, having that cohesive brand, having that cohesive look will make it very easy for people to recognize who you are. And that's also worked for me outside of artwork. So with my cookies, people are like, oh, that's Via's Cookies when they see my branding, when they see even me at a market, because I put my picture and my face on a lot of the things that I do. They'll immediately recognize me. And sometimes people come up to my booth just because they say, oh my gosh, I have seen her before. That's Via. They'll come up to me like, are you Via? I'm like, you did it. I'm Via. Congratulations. Now please buy a cookie. Yeah. So that is kind of the 1-2 on what a website should look like. I can also tell you the website platforms that I suggest. So for artists, I think the most accessible website creator is probably Squarespace. There's Squarespace, there's Wix, which is W-I-X. That one, I believe there's a free plan for that one. Squarespace it has different levels. It is paid. They have the cheap type level. We can actually take a look at it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, you could just pick a template.
I want to go. Yeah, so Squarespace, I don't know. No, I'm not gonna do that. Oh, God. No. All right, you're not seeing it. You're just not gonna see it. Or maybe I could see, let's see, build a website. All right. This is Squarespace. Squarespace is very polished. Let me go back to Julian Plum's website and see what he used. I don't know. Sometimes you can see at the bottom of a website how they created it. We're never gonna know for this one. But Squarespace is a really good platform to use, and it looks like they've got the sale going on. But the trick with this one is basically they just have a really easy setup, and you can very easily design the website. They also have different integrations, so they do have a platform through Squarespace where you can just sell your work directly through the site. With Julian, it looks like he has some sort of integration so that you go straight to Website or Etsy. You literally, it's just a link. There's another website creator, but the other one is Shopify. That one is usually more for brands like Via's Cookies, like selling a cookie or bread or something like that. I think Squarespace or Wix is probably your best bet. There's also WordPress. WordPress does have, I'd say, there's a learning curve for that one. It's not easy.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy to work with WordPress. And then for your Instagram even, just having a cohesive brand, kind of what we were talking about earlier. Julian's just a really great example.
Oh, there was one other thing. When you're making your Instagram, I know a lot of people have personal Instagrams. You probably want to have an art Instagram and a personal. It's okay, of course, to post a photo of yourself on the art Instagram, and I would even suggest that just so people know who they're supporting. But you don't want to be on your art Instagram constantly posting photos of your cat. You know, unless you take a photo of a really nice framed piece and your cat's always sitting right beside the frame. I would like that. That would be awesome. I'd be like, yeah, the cat. But it should be about the artwork. Maybe the cat is just an accent to the art. So you want to have very cohesive stuff going on. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, definitely have prices. So when we looked at Julian's stuff, I don't think he had prices, but that was kind of specific. On the website, he doesn't have prices because it's picture book illustrations. I'm not even quite sure how I would price that. That seems like on a case-by-case basis.
But then they also
But
would
the-
be like all different sizes.
Yeah,
And they were probably commissioned and already
Yeah.
like.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's its whole own thing. But with the shop, you could see obviously what he was charging for all of the different items. So on your website, depending on what you're selling, you want to know what you're charging folks for things. If you're an illustrator, then you know it might mostly be commission based. But if you have paintings that you're selling, you should probably put the price on there, or even just a price range, just in case someone wants commissions. Oh, these usually go from around $300 to $2,000, depending on the size, the detail, blah 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 blah. Let's see. What?
We went a little over time.
Okay. Okay, and the last thing that I wanted to say was Linktree. So when you are on Instagram, when you're on any sort of platform, let's see if Julian has one. It just might not load. You want to start a Linktree. A Linktree is a thing that houses a bunch of links. So I'm not sure if it'll show you an example there. Okay, here's a good example. So you will literally copy and paste in all the different links from the things you do. So your website, your Etsy, your Substack, your lookbook, I don't know, and they'll show up in the Linktree. And then you can share that Linktree through a QR code. It creates one for you, and you can put that QR code on everything, literally everything. Put it on your business card, put it on your brochures, put it on the sign next to your shop. If you have the QR code with the Linktree, then it means that people can just take their phone out, scan the code, and immediately have all of your resources in front of them. And so I do that even with my cookies. On the back of every single one of my cookies, there's a QR code to my Linktree. So they eat the cookie, they're messing around with the packaging, they scan the QR code, they go to my website, they see what I'm about. Yeah, all right, that's about it for
Thank
website
you.
stuff. Yep.
I want to say that one of the good things about modern days is that you can find a tutorial about any of this. How to build a Squarespace website. What is a QR code? It's all there. We used to do workshops that were specific, like how to build a Wix website. We don't do any of those anymore because it's all online. Everything is online. And because how to do something will change next week, you have to be able to watch the tutorials. How do I accept money? How do I use credit cards? All of it, it's all there. I wanted to add something to what Via said about pictures. Again, you don't need a professional photographer. Just take your work outside so you don't have lamp glare on it. A cloudy day is fine. Just photograph your work outside learn how to crop photos. I'm surprised that of the 55 artists on the art trail, 35 of them say, if you'd like to buy work, check my website and give me a call. Because people won't, because they don't know the prices. So I really advise what these guys said, which was if you want to sell work, and of course you do because you wouldn't be here, is to have a link to a site where people can buy things online. So let's take some questions now that can be directed toward any one of us. John?
Yeah, I have a 3.5 minute piece, which is 5-minute video on upcycle maps, how I make them, a whole short soup to nuts. What's your experience with using videos to sell stuff?
So videos are really good. And I would actually suggest that with that 5-minute video, you clip it down and you take little clips of it doing this or that, and you post them as either TikToks or Instagram Reels. These short videos, and what you'll want to do is you'll want to put a really long caption. This is very specific to the algorithm. So you want a really short video, it's like 15 seconds, and you want a really long caption. Because as people are reading the caption, your video will play over and over and over. And that will drive more engagement to your video. But then it also, as they're reading the caption, they'll probably end up clicking on your page and going and checking out your stuff. So videos are incredible for that. And you can post longer videos, but it's definitely advised that you do a lot of the short little clippy stuff. And then also probably put some, I don't know, explain what the video is about on top of it so that people are like, oh, what's this? Click, and so on. So yeah.
How many people spend a lot of time going through 15 to 30-second reels when they should be doing other things in their life?
Doom scroll.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, those short reels, people have a short attention span, and it's getting shorter.
Yeah.
So other questions? Marcy.
I'm just curious what people do with sales tax, especially during the art trail or at the market. Do you include it in the price? And at the end, do you think there's a better way to do that?
Oh, that's what you mean. I personally add it at the end,
Well, at your shop or at the
at the shop and at the market. I found for my own bookkeeping, it's just easier for me to keep track of sales, like $12, $12, $12. At the end of the day, I multiply my total and know that I collected however much sales tax. Nobody blinks an eye at tax on top of things. Some people don't want to deal with change. It's less of an issue when you have a credit card, you're taking credit cards. It's kind of a matter of personal preference. You can set, if you're taking credit cards, you can set your Square interface to automatically calculate the tax for you. So you can just put in the base amount and it'll make it $12.96 without you having to do the math. Customers expect sales tax in New York. It's not a problem.
And now Nancy.
And so my question, I just wanted to say that I had a great experience with a website with a site called FASO, F-A-S-O. And I'm not sure what it stands for, but a lot of visual artists use that. And I think there's also another one called Art Storefronts, but I don't know that one. But with FASO, it's really built for visual artists. And you download your pictures, and they have, I don't know, 20 different like looks that you can get, and so you can put your information in there, you can change it up, and then you can change the colors and all that. It's it's very flexible, and they also have a shopping cart on it.
Squarespace has all that.
Yeah, it does, but.
I have a comment too about the website. Think of it if it's helpful to anyone. A local place here called Maple Creative. They help me make my WordPress, and they actually will teach you. So like for I think it was 3 months, once a week, I would go into a Zoom with all these other people, a lot of artists actually, and people doing herbal medicine, just like people doing lots of different things who didn't really have the money to have someone develop their website, but the people that work there teach everyone all at once how to do it. because I'm actually not that good at learning that stuff sometimes, so I actually have a really hard time with WordPress. So that's WordPress, but it's called Maple Creative, and that was like amazing for me. That was very helpful. during being
WordPress is
connected.
not user-friendly, and all my sites are WordPress.
Yeah.
But I know how to use them now. But I think also there's a difference in cost. Squarespace, you can build a site for free, then you might be paying for the service and your domain name.
Yeah.
But the building of the website, you're just picking a template and typing your own information in.